sense of me being there.
And see, that's the whole idea of the, formlessness, remaining formless is, then your mind starts to grasp a concept of what is this formlessness? What does formlessness mean? And then the mind says, oh, yeah, okay, formlessness, this is formlessness. And then that's where Maharaj stops that concept and that little train of thought, because he says, okay, formlessness prior to beingness. So that it kind of shakes up, because the whole idea is you don't want to grasp at anything that you can kind of build this little conceptual house and then say, I understand, this is the understanding and this is my conceptual house that I have built and I'm getting this. And that is really kind of like that lulling you into a false sense of, oh yeah, okay, now I get this and I understand this. The idea of the understanding is that it stops, like, mind stops, and then you start to see that this is absolutely illusion, because the mind is no longer, and that's mantra, mind is no longer commenting on the day-to-day activities and the things that are going on and this and that. So you're in that kind of prior to beingness state, prior to any thought arising about anything, prior to labeling, prior to mind, ego, intellect. And then, you say formless, and right away, formless, no, let's smash that concept with prior to beingness. Because then even the mind is like, prior to beingness, what was nothing? Like, okay, nothing, like nothing. What? Nothing. And then that nothing, then, you don't want to add anything on to that nothing by trying to label or build another little conceptual house of what nothing might be. And then he says, ultimate truth, except your selfless self. There's no God, there's no Brahman, there's no Paramatman, there's no master. Nothing is there, because it's formlessness without a concept of formlessness. It's prior to beingness, prior to any conceptual building of any kind. There's no building blocks. It's space in space. And then even you don't want to label that space, because then you're using mind, ego, intellect with what is space. And mind can sit there and label, oh, this is space, so I understand I'm like space. And then Maharaj says, no. Remember, Nisargadatta Maharaj said, if at all you want to compare, don't compare, but if for some reason there's some urge in the mind to compare yourself with something, then compare yourself with sky or space.
Well, what about the idea that knowingness usually requires an object, in which case there's duality, in which case, but I know one teacher says that it's knowing, there's a quality of knowingness that's knowing of itself, which does not make it an object.
Well, and again, that's, once you're in the illusory world, these things can be true, but these things can also be false. Everything prior to beingness is nothing. There's no knowingness. There's no nothing. Knowingness has appeared to the absence of knowingness. Prior to beingness, what was there? There was nothing, and then beingness appeared. But that's the example. Knock, knock on the door. Who's there? Nobody's there. But somebody had to be there to say nobody's there. Maharaj has said this. And something had to be there for beingness to appear.
And that self was self, right?
Correct.
Presence.
Well, see, and we can say presence, like Maharaj says, the words and this and that, but and awareness and all this kind of stuff. But prior to beingness is prior to mind, ego, intellect, prior to the use of labeling, the use of intellectualizing. It's just the just I, before there was a concept of anything other.
Well, that's sort of why selfless self is a good concept, because it's not really a concept.
Exactly. Selfless self is self without the self. And yet it is. That's why when all illusory concepts dissolve, there you are. You are the one to whom all these illusory concepts have appeared. And we talked about before, like Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the consciousness is what everything that you've ever known, all your life, all the people you've known, everything that's ever been done in your knowing state has been done in this consciousness. And this consciousness appeared to you, the selfless self, through spontaneity, the beingness. Boom, beingness appeared to something that was absence of beingness. Now beingness is the first concept, which then created the consciousness in which the entire world is. But it's not. It's totally illusion, because all of this will disappear and you'll go back to your regular self without knowing, because there's nothing to know, and you won't even know yourself, because beingness is no longer appearing on your spontaneous presence.
You know what? That sort of puts some pressure on it. You know, it's like, well, the realization has to take place before the body leaves, or else it's all, you got to go through the whole baloney all over again.
Well, no, because you never were. There never was a Kathleen. It's always selfless self that's absolutely unmoving, that all this movement is occurring inside of. So when Kathleen's body falls, it makes no difference whatsoever to selfless self that you are. When John's body falls, it makes no difference. If I realize myself, okay, nice. If I don't realize myself, it doesn't matter, because all of that is in the bubble of illusion inside the consciousness. The self is never realizing anything. Inside the bubble of illusion, inside the consciousness, there's the dream of waking up from a dream, but that's all in the dream.
Wow. So what's the point of it all?
There is no point at all. It's just we're here. Spontaneously, existence has come. And whether you realize yourself or not makes no difference at all, other than in this illusory world, you know yourself in a real sense. You're no longer pressured by all the illusory concepts, mind, ego, intellect, and all these things. You stop using them and stop believing in the illusion. Nothing changes at all, other than right now you believe in these illusory layers. You believe that I'm Kathleen, but I'm not Kathleen, and Kathleen has this spiritual knowledge, and Kathleen has this understanding, and Kathleen, when she leaves the body, these things will occur, but this is all false. And when you know yourself in a real sense, you'll know, and you'll have the courage to sit with this falseness, so that then it'll dawn on you that, wow, like, there was nothing to lose. This body falls, there's nothing to lose, because there's nothing that ever was there.
Yeah, so it's only useful for this incarnation, because then it's like there's peace for this particular, in this particular incarnation.
Yes.
And after that, the whole show is over.
Exactly. And inside this dream, when you know it's a dream, then you'll behave as if it's a dream. You won't take the touch of serious things happening or not happening. It's just like, okay, this character is going to move on down to the end until the body falls, and that's it. And it'll do that anyway. See, that's the crazy thing. It's going to do that anyway. But the mind creation and your belief that you're a body that's experiencing these things and experiencing these thoughts about yourself, that causes a disturbance. And even though you're still going to live the exact same timeline, the exact same everything, you'll be disturbed the entire time until you leave the body. Whereas if you know yourself in a real sense, you can really just enjoy existence. Your spontaneous existence, spontaneous action. Nothing to worry about, nothing to do. In the end, it's all the same. All's well. But you do what needs to be done in the moment, but you're not pressuring. You're not worrying. You're not, oh my God, what happens about this? What happens about that? This is all just the illusion.
Yeah.
So enjoy the illusion without you. And you can't fake that, because you have to get rid of all of the illusory concepts in order to live as you are, spontaneously, without this mind, ego, intellect trying to project all these stories and give you all these images and worry about, like you said, well, what happens? Your body will eventually, my body too, will go to the hospital, and if we live long, if we just get hit by a car or whatever, it won't happen that way. But if you go and you live longer, then you're going to know. But see, that's why Maharaj says, you know that no one is dying, because no one was ever born.
No.
So the last moment is a very happy moment, because okay, the show is over. I have lost nothing. And I actually was able to maintain the show peace, joy, happiness. As Maharaj says, are you peaceful? Are you tension-free? Are you fearless? Someday or other, willingly or unwillingly, Maharaj says this all the time, and this is a very key thing. Willingly or unwillingly, you are going to have to leave the body. You are going to witness yourself, so to speak, conceptually dying. You're going to witness this. You're going to witness that this body is no more. So at the time, if it's just a transitory thing, like you're waking up from a dream, then it will be a very peaceful thing. It's like, okay, it never was. Everything's good. Mantra, mantra. It's finished, but it never was. So, but yet the presence is, all of this appeared on spontaneous presence. So it doesn't need the body, and it doesn't need to know itself. It just happens to know itself through the conceptual belief of otherness while in a body form. But you have no need to know yourself. You're everything, all of everything. So there's no real need to know yourself, other than when you know yourself, then you want to know how this is all happening. How do I know this? How do I spontaneously know I am? Well, there is no how. It's just, it is. And after you don't know I am, you're still there, because this I am appeared to that you are. So it all doesn't matter at all. You, the selfless self, have no need to know yourself, other than when you know yourself, you should know yourself in the real sense and not in the illusory body form. Because the illusory body form is going to fail one day or other, burn or bury, like Maharaj says. So if you only know yourself in the illusory body form, in the illusory world, and you believe that to be true, then you're going to suffer. But if you know yourself in a real sense, okay, this body's here and I suddenly know myself. I didn't need to know myself, but I do. But I need to know myself in a real sense and not in this illusory body form. Because of this body, I know I am, but I don't need to know that. Like, you don't need to know yourself. You just happen to know yourself. But now know yourself in a real sense, not the illusory body in the illusory world. Because you suddenly know yourself, you believe that this body is me. But this is not the case. You came to know yourself through body form, but the body is not your identity. You're this holder of this body because you came to know yourself. Like Maharaj says, when spirit clicked with the body, you say I. So spontaneously, you're here. How did that happen? But who cares how that happened? It's here. But you have to know yourself in a real sense, not the illusory body that you believe is you in this illusory world, and that you have this illusory life. Just know yourself in a real sense. I suddenly know I am, but I'm not what I think I am. I just am. Spirit clicked with the body and you say I. And you know yourself in this body form for a time, which then impresses all these body-based concepts that they're true, because the only way you know yourself, you haven't investigated, I'm this body and I'm doing these things and I need to do this and need to do that. But Maharaj has said, and once you know, the spontaneous conviction of I was not body, I am not body, I'm not going to remain body. Yes, I have a sense of existence. This sense of existence is because of this body, but this body is not my identity. This sense of existence just appeared. And then I said, oh, I exist. But I need to know myself in a real sense, that I am not this body. This body clicked and suddenly I am. I say I. But that's not the real identity. Knowing yourself in a real sense is you are not this body form. Although the body form was the indicator that when it clicked, boom, oh, I exist. I assume I exist in this body form, and other body forms are out there that tell me I exist in this body form. And all this body knowledge is impressed. But the reality is, no. Knowing myself in a real sense, I'm just this sense of presence that suddenly became aware of itself. The space in this room suddenly became aware that there were people in this room. And when the people leave, the space is still here. And whether people or things are going on or not, there's no knowing of this. There's nothing inside to know. There was for a time, but now there's not. And it didn't need to be.